kids come in with things up their nose or in their ear. And what they'd do is they'd put one in and then they'd stick another one. So one little kid who was really sweet came in and he had a little fireman and he'd stuck him up his nose and then he'd stuck a fire truck to go after the fire.
Oh, geez. Oh, look, actually, I do remember a story about noses. We had a new person come on the floor. I think she was not a grad, but new to the ward. Oh, an AIN, that's right. And the patient had a rhinoplasty. And someone had said to the AIN, can you give suppositories? And she said, yeah, I can. So they gave her the 2 suppositories to give to the patient. And she'd seen the packs had come out and was giving the suppositories. And so she put the suppositories in the nose.
Oh.
And it was only when that started to melt that the patient rang the bell and they realised what she had done, because she'd seen these 2 little bullets that looked like they'd fit up the nose nicely. Patient had surgery on the nose, the packs had come out. And she'll never forget, she'll never make that mistake again, because the patient had to go back to theatre and get that washed out. Another pack's put in.
You can never assume that people understand exactly what you're talking about. I had a friend who was a GP and he had a young couple come in who'd been given the pill.
Yeah.
And they came in about 5 months later and she was pregnant. And he'd gone through the thing and so why had she been taking it? You've been taking it regularly, you haven't had any diarrhea or anything like that. And the boyfriend says, no, I haven't.
He took the pill. Oh, dear.
Yeah, he'd been taking the pill. Strangely enough, she got pregnant.
Yes. And he didn't. Now that would go back to your first story. If men had babies, what would we be breeding? Yeah. God.
So as a nurse, I would have been working at Northern Hospital. I was on the wards for quite a long time. Yeah. And I loved it. And when I went back to re-reg, I was at, I had to do 6 weeks of voluntary work because you didn't get paid for it. But that was back at Fremantle, back on the, I forget what ward it was now, but I loved it. And I would have stayed there, but they didn't have a position for me. But then I looked and I'd worked at South Perth before, like 100 years ago. And then when I was looking, because it was like a couple of weeks after, and I thought the longer I leave it, I'm just going to lose my nerve and not go back. So I saw the job in theatre for South Perth, and I walked in there, and one of the girls that I'd worked with at Armidale 100 years ago said to the manager there, oh, this is Suzanne, she's amazing, you've got to hire her. So I walked in, sat down, and the lady said, when do you want to start? How many days do you want to work? And
I was thinking of my first job, and it wasn't after I graduated. My first job in my second year of nursing studies, I decided I'd do something radical. So I applied to the WA Health and got a job down at a little, I think it was 12-bed hospital down south, being, I think it was 17 and a half. And so I jumped in my Datsun 180B, which sounded like a lawnmower, had a tape deck, and I only had one tape. I know every word of Kate Bush. And I drove all the way down to Pemberton.
Oh, cute.
Gorgeous little hospital. And so when I got the job, I found out I'd be staying with a matron, and she was absolutely lovely. But it's funny, I turned up on a Friday night, never been down there before in my life, and she had a house just off. It was situated next to the forest, just down off the road from town. And she had a little house which was just a bit away from the hospital, and it was on stilts. And so she welcomed me in, said, blah, 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 showed me around the hospital, and you're staying with me, here's the room, and I'll see you Monday. And I thought, okay. And she goes, oh, and by the way, just before I leave, the police number is next to the phone. It's just because I had some guy try and crawl under the house last week, and if you hear any noises, just give them a call. They'll be down in a tick. So here I am, never been there before. And of course, being next to the forest, it was really done.
Yeah.
So I've got to say, my first excursion into nursing, I slept in the cupboard. A sliding door cupboard. I got up on the shelf, put some pillows and a doona in there and pulled the door shut, thinking, I don't care if he comes in, I'll just be asleep.
He won't find you in the cupboard.
Yeah.
Nobody looks in cupboard.
Yeah. And that wasn't great in the hospital. I worked there for, I think it was a couple of weeks, and they had me convinced it was haunted, because you'd walk around the outside of the nursing station, and by the time we got back, you'd be pulling down all the blinds.
Yeah.
And by the time we came back, they'd all be up again. The nurses were still sitting in.
Yeah.
It was very freaky.
So you think it was haunted?
Yeah.
It's like the one up in York, the old hospital in York. That's up for sale now, but that's haunted. No, you can...
and parts of rural Perth, don't tell me that's not haunted.
Oh, yeah.
And the old place in Fremantle, I had
to sleep in a cupboard, but that was actually at Armidale Hospital. I was on call and on the Saturday you'd have to go in and clean. And I'd been out, I was young, I'd been out Friday night and I was totally exhausted. I did all the cleaning and whatever I had to do. And then I went into the store cupboard, and back in the day, you used to have a cholecystectomy mattress that was put on top of the boards, and that just looked so inviting that I had to lay down and have a little sleep.
Yeah, sleeping on the job. Yeah. I think we only ever slept on night shift. We'd go for a break, for your hour break.
Yeah.
And go to sleep.
Yeah.
But
I was no good at night duty.
No, you wake up feeling worse. It takes you a couple of hours to get your head together.
I didn't have sleep during the day, so the problem was at about 3:30 to 4.
Yes.
I'd have to prop myself up. And that was always when the night manager used to come around. She was a smart woman.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Prop yourself awake, like put toothpicks in your eyes, pretend you're awake.
Prop yourself up on a chair.
Yeah.
Right in front of the monitors and turn them up so they'd keep you awake.
Oh, see, when I was on the ward as a student nurse, everything was paper, writing in notes and things like that. So all you had to do is open up a piece of note and put a biro in your hand. You had nothing until she stood over you to see that you've written nothing. The good old days, right? Nursing's changed over the years, hasn't it? Oh, I want to ask you a question, talking about your first job. So my first job was in a nursing home when I was 15, doing morning teas. So I had the Saturday morning teas and my sister had the Sunday morning teas to do. And we'd make an urn of hot water and the teas and biscuits and go to the patients. But what I noticed was that the people's vegetables that weren't eaten were being scraped in a pot and they would make soup out of it. The patients were fed their dinner or their lunch and anything the nurses would be feeding them, but what wasn't eaten would be collected up and then blitzed into soup. Right? Now, does that revolt you?
That is disgusting.
That is disgusting. If you take that into an era where we're post-war or in the middle of war and there's no food, or you took it into a situation like a third world country where food is very scarce, would that still be revolting?
No, because I think it comes down to survival. If you have to survive, you'll do
exactly.
Yeah.
So when they stopped that, because obviously they got caught out, the kitchen staff got caught out, and they stopped it. So then they reverted to powdered soup mix,
which is equally revolting.
Exactly. There's no nutritional value in that. You're just filling people up with stomach fillers, really. Whereas at least when they had vegetables and it was boiled and made into soup, they were getting some nutrition. Now, I've had this debate with people because most people go, "Ooh, that's revolting." But then you put it into a different context and then you give them the alternative, which is powdered soup. It's quite interesting. That's one of the things that you wished you hadn't seen because it sticks with you even after 40 years of wondering,
mind you,
what would I have preferred?
How much nutrition would be in blended food which was boiled?
Yeah, that's right. Probably nothing anyway. but better than powdered soup.
Yeah.
And we're all about saving money. No, we're not, because we do use disposable everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started theatre when they used to recycle. You used to run down the back, you clean your instruments, put them in the autoclave, run around, scrub up, go in, get them out with hot warmers.
Yep.
Oh, God, yeah. I started in theatre where everything, the linen was washed. Just packed. Yeah, the packs with tags.
Yeah.
You wore green uniforms. They got washed. Everything.
And pantyhose?
You wore pantyhose or they got washed?
No, you wore pantyhose.
Oh, not in theatre. No, I've never done that.
No. Didn't wear pantyhose in theatre.
No.
I didn't.
Well, I wore stud-up overalls once, and I remember rushing into theatre, and back in the days, the autoclaves had like those spiky handles, rushing into theatre, catching my overalls on the handle and ripping all my studs open and having to run into theatre holding on to my bloody self because somebody had yelled for something and you dare not keep them waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Things have changed a bit because remember when we started out, doctors had their own tea room.
Yeah.
At St John's. Nurses had a tea room and socialised together.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what that was about.
They were too good to us. They were too good for us to talk to.
Yeah.
Or maybe they wanted to discuss patients' cases.
And then, of course, they had smoking rooms.
Or they would discuss the nurses. Yes, the smoking room. I remember going into the smoking room and I didn't smoke, but that's where all the clinical managers sat. You'd be one of the cool people. That was pretty cool to sit in the smoking room. Not anymore. God knows what damage had done, but then again, we do drink alcohol, so we worry. Not really. Some of the phrases that we use at work that we probably wouldn't get away with anywhere else.
Give us an example, Paula. I can't, I'm not on your wavelength. I
Okay,
don't know
so
what you mean.
can you tie me up? Or can you undo me?
Yeah.
Or untie me? If somebody walked into a room and you're saying, can you tie me up, please? Would somebody know what you're saying? That happened the other day, and as I walked in, I thought, hey, yeah, okay, now can you untie me?
Yeah,
Oh, have you had fun?
that's right. Or who are you doing today? Yeah.
That's right. That's a popular one, yeah. Who are you doing today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing doctor.
Yeah.
That's right. And what's the list? I can't think of any other ones that just came to my mind then.
And, of course, that favourite one that if you bump into someone who you work with in the list and they say, oh, I didn't recognise you with your clothes on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else has hopped in the lift and they don't know what you're talking about.
That's right. Or I've had one, I know those eyes, but I don't know your name. Yeah.
That's right, because you're wearing a mask. You
Yeah.
really do have a language with your eyes, don't you?
Yeah.
I always the one, we were at a dinner thing the other night and someone said, we go around the table, what do you do? And I go, oh, I get dressed and undressed multiple times a day. It really doesn't matter what I wear because I take them off anyway. And I could see the guy's faces going, and I go, I'm a theatre nurse.
Oh.
I usually say, I help put people to sleep, or I help cut people open.
Or I have my hands places you don't want to know.
Yeah. And people seem to have a fascination because when you say, you know, when they say, what kind of a nurse are you? If you say, oh, I'm a theatre nurse, they're always like, oh, that must be so interesting. Or they think, I don't know, they think it's glamorous? Do they think it's spooky?
Well, it's the place that nobody's allowed to go.
Yeah.
Only theatre staff or only personnel are allowed past these doors.
Very much.
That's
behind
the thing.
closed doors.
And the visitors that come to visit us don't remember it when they go out, what's happened to them, or they don't know what's happened to them. They might remember music being played while they're falling asleep. Yeah, I think we should keep that myth going, that this mysterious place in the hospital.
Yes. Mind you, I do tell them it's nothing like Grey's Anatomy and we only have one floor to catch the lift in.
Yeah, that's right. And I can't watch hospital TV shows.
No.
Oh, well, I do. And it used to drive my daughters when they lived at home insane because I'd start commenting on that. Oh, my God, seriously? No glasses. I mean,
She's touching her mask with her hair.